Hello, you're listening to Food Rebels, and I'm AJ Sharp. This is the podcast and radio show dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world. The farmers, founders, challengers, and changemakers shaking up things across the industry. If you enjoy the show, please do like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment. It genuinely makes a difference, not just to us, but to the brilliant producers, brands, chefs, and personalities that we champion by giving them a voice and a platform. Today on the show, we're talking about power perception and who really gets to shape British food culture. The Black Farmer started as a bold idea to challenge assumptions about who owns, produces and profits from food in the UK. What began as a small farming adventure has grown into a nationally stocked brand, now on shelves in Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda and Ocado, as well as in its own urban farm shops in London. But this isn't just a story about listings and growth. It's about representation. It's about resilience. And it's about building a commercially successful food brand without losing your values along the way. Joining me today is Alex Emmanuel-Jones, the commercial director at The Black Farmer. He works across strategy, retail partnerships and brand development, helping scale the business while staying true to the mission of his father, Wilfred Emmanuel-Jones. We're going to talk about what it really takes to build and grow a challenger brand, and why food might be one of the most powerful tools we have to change perceptions and build community. Alex, welcome to Food Rebels.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. I mean, as Wilfred's son, presumably you were growing up alongside the company being founded. What was that like?
Pretty much, yeah. So the company's been going 21 years now. So as you say, I've kind of been in and around it. Company was started by my dad and mum, who were in PR beforehand. So we were literally at home kind of making the sauces and marinades, labelling, going to trade shows and fair shows and stuff like that. So as you say, literally in the brand from the beginning. But I think at that point, you don't quite realise until obviously 20 years later, the scale of the brand, because you are literally building it there and then. Yeah, it's been great being part of that, and obviously now actually fully into the brand.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, what's the story of its origin?
Yeah, so it was kind of my dad's dream, passion to always own a piece of land. And so he bought a farm on the border of Devon and Cornwall, a place called Launceston. And so we got a little place there, and actually his neighbours called him the Black Farmer, which 20 years ago was probably a bit more acceptable than it is today.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting because even now when I go to places, especially abroad, like when I talk about export opportunities, people are still a bit unsure on the name. They're like, oh, can you say that and stuff like that? Which for a name is great because it kind of gives you a bit of edge, a bit of different to like a standard brand name, which is great. So we had the name, and then, as I said, sort of started sort of very locally at trade shows and fairs and effectively just driving brand visibility and awareness, which is kind of key to growing the brand and kind of getting attention of the right people. We then, the royal we, sort of my mum and dad found a gap at the time, was kind of gluten-free. So unless you were celiac or had some kind of wheat intolerance, like 20 years ago, you weren't really shopping into that category. Obviously now, like it's some would have it for their diets and have a gluten-free diet. So we created a gluten-free premium pork sausage, which even today, and I'm sure you've got already, is our sort of mainstay and it's our hero product. It's a great product. And to be fair, from then, the brand just grew and grew. We diversified the portfolio into chicken, we've got eggs, we've got sauces, crisps, all this kind of stuff across major supermarkets, and it's become an established brand.
It's amazing. There's so many questions I want to ask you. I want to ask you about that kind of representation thing and dive into that because I think it's really fascinating. But as you've just opened the subject about the gluten-free sausage, let's taste it, because I cooked these last night and got them all kind of ready for today's show, and I did have a little cheeky taste, and they are so good. So this is the premium, isn't it? The premium pork sausage.
Yes, yeah, premium pork sausage, which again, recipe was made at home, and we've had it from the beginning. And it's great because we've got such a loyal following of those customers that we've had at the beginning. You know, our customers are generally sort of higher affluent, sort of age 45 and over, and those are the people who have been right from the beginning and know the product. So we're so protective of that product. The only difference we've ever made is updated the new packaging, the sleeves which you've got there, to make it a bit more and unapologetic and actually appeal to a slightly different audience as well, and not just the loyal customers that we've had from the beginning. But it is a great product.
It's a great product. There's something about it. I mean, I've just had a little slice, and it's like the grain in it. It's quite smooth, isn't it? But it's still got that lovely texture to it that tells you this is really nicely made sausage. The other thing we really noticed about the premium last night is it's so sweet. Just natural, porky, beautiful sweetness that comes through. It's really delicious, but a nice black peppery kind of finish, but not too much, quite gentle.
Exactly, yeah. And I think there's a fine balance at the moment. I think customers are looking for a high pork content. I think those ones are 90, 91% pork. And then obviously that gives you room for flavours and seasoning and stuff like that. So you get a really high pork content, but you haven't got a huge amount of pork to take away from the bits that you've described, which are important, which customers love about a traditional sausage.
Yeah, because I don't know that everyone, unless you are a celiac or you have a gluten intolerance, you probably never really thought about the fact that your sausage has got wheat-related products in them.
Not at all. No. Yeah, and to be fair, like even obviously being in and around the brand and being in retail, like unless you're kind of in and around those sort of products, you wouldn't really think twice. And obviously like gluten-free is no longer a USP, kind of similar. I was saying it's like that's the minimum expectation. But obviously before it's like, oh, gluten-free sausage. It sounds interesting. It's kind of not what I expect, but actually it's a great product and you can make gluten-free products taste really nice. And that's how the brand started and kind of got to where we are today.
You wouldn't know from eating it that it was or wasn't a gluten-free product. It just tastes like it's got a really lovely, high-quality pork content.
Which is
I've
great.
just had a little piece of the Cumberland, which obviously has that distinctive, much more kind of black peppery kick to it. But that's the kind of sausage my husband would love in a kind of sandwich in the morning. Really, really punchy, nice flavour. And then the last one is a chicken sausage. Is that right? Jerk chicken
sausage, yeah. So the as I said, premium pork and the chipolatas have been with us from the off. Jerk chicken and Cumberland actually really new. So Cumberland and jerk we probably launched back end of last year, maybe summer. And the jerk specifically is like, for the Black Farmer, we really want to own an occasion. Jerk makes absolute sense to us. Obviously, it's a brand based on Caribbean heritage. We've got a Brixton and farm shop, so jerk is like a natural progression. So one of the things that was really key is like we need to create a jerk product, and a jerk chicken sausage, because we're known for sausage, makes complete sense. So, it is a great product. It's polarizing, I would say. Like, it is never going to be something that goes across the whole of the UK and people are going to like. We have certain areas where people love it and people don't as much, because it has got a bit of a kick.
It's got a kick, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has got a big kick.
I mean, if you like a little bit of spice in there, but it's lovely. It comes in. There's a real sweetness from the meat, and then the kind of the chili, the jerk seasoning really kind of builds, doesn't it, in the background. But if you want jerk chicken, then I imagine that tastes like a really nice, authentic version of it.
Yeah, and I think, and also chicken sausage is generally considered healthier for people. So people are shopping more into chicken sausage, but instead of having something just plain, it's having jerk, which is quite on trend anyway. You've got people in sort of Gen Z are looking for slightly different flavour profiles. Something's more interesting, and jerk is kind of ticking that box. And, we did a fair bit of research behind the rise in jerk in sort of chilled and ambient products anyway. So we want to be the owners, like the Black Farmer jerk chicken sausage, the jerk chicken burger, those kind of bits as well. So jerk is very much a focus for us. So I'm glad you like it as well.
Yeah, it's cool. I can see that's the real, like gym goers sausage of choice, probably, because it's really high in protein, isn't it? But relatively low in fat, and it's obviously got a huge amount of flavour to it, which is really cool. You've also got these. I mean, are these charcuterie sausages?
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we've got those products. I think you've got as well. They're on our online farm shop. So we kicked off an online farm shop actually in COVID, which was the perfect time to do it, to be honest, because obviously people didn't really and couldn't really go out. So we launched an online farm shop which delivers across the UK. And if you go on it, you can see products from chilled, from ambient. We've got homeware and gifting. We do turkeys at Christmas. So kind of a much bigger range of product, which we source locally from there. And then also we've got those products in our in-store farm shops in Brixton and White City as well.
It's amazing. It's such a big organisation, so much bigger than I realised.
Yeah.
I mean, this is beautiful. What is this? Smoked sloe and garlic wild venison salami. Absolutely delicious. You could get stuck into that with a glass of red wine.
Yeah,
no
it's
problem.
great. And they do really, really well. And I think having, what you received is ultimately a farm shop box, and having the opportunity to get completely different bits. Like I think you've got pates and stuff, and then your sausage. And then when we do really well when it comes to seasonality. So like you can imagine your barbecue box is massive for us, when it's Windrush, when it's Black History Month. Like we do a huge amount of marketing around those big events and big occasions. And that's where the farm shop boxes kind of really come into their own.
Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, these are beautiful. There's hot and spicy chutney here from the Black Farmer. Seville orange and whiskey. I did not know that you made marmalade.
And that's and I think I feel like the marmalades, the sauces, mayonnaise, chutneys, like that's the full circle moment, really. It's kind of like that's how the brand started, and now we're in a position to start diversifying the portfolio even more. It's just kind of going back on it. And crisps, yeah.
And crisps.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I was holding that up to the camera, which I know doesn't help our audio listeners, but the logo, I guess, of the Black Farm. I mean, you've got the word, the typography logo, but you've also got, is it Wilfred, your dad,
yes,
holding a Union flag, and it's a silhouette outline of him with his iconic hat holding the Union flag up above his head. Tell me about that logo, or that emblem, I guess.
Yeah, so I think initially actually we put the British flag on because people thought it was a South African brand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so one of the things we obviously, all our products, in the supermarkets is always British, at the free range, that kind of stuff. And that was quite a really important bit to get across. Customers are really key on being British and shopping how they shop. So for that, it was really important to make sure we had that on. And the silhouette, again, has always been something that's been on the packaging. And, if you've met him before, he's a kind of bold, eccentric person who makes sense and also makes it quite relatable. I think, sometimes if you've got packaging, if we just had the Black Farmer, it's not very relatable. It's like, okay, this is the actual Black Farmer. And then obviously if you flip the pack over, you see more information about his story and how the brand started, etc. So it was really important to build that relationship with the Black Farmer and not just think it's just a brand that's been made up.
I mean, at the time, he was everywhere, wasn't he? Was there like a TV show or several TV shows, I think, that had him on? He seemed to be being interviewed in so many different things, because I think, like you said, the name is actually divisive, and there are other places in kind of European countries that don't get it. They don't really understand the point you're trying to make, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that, I mean, he was on a TV show, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was on, I think it was 2004, Channel 4, is called Young Black Farmers. And he took a group of black kids from London down to our farm in Devon, and they stayed there, I guess, a couple of weeks or so, working, on the farm and basically doing the work of a farmer. And you kind of one by one was a winner, and I think they won some sort of work within the Black Farmer for a period of time. And it was great because obviously 20 years ago, obviously the thought, it just wasn't diverse enough, really wasn't. No. Obviously you're still at a point where it kind of isn't, but it's definitely heading in that right direction. So I think all the marketing, him being sort of the face of the TV and being kind of named as the only black farm in the UK, has kind of done a huge amount to improve and increase diversity within the countryside. And I think that TV show was kind of the first part of it.
Yeah, it's raising awareness, isn't it? And
exactly,
understanding and acceptance, and that, this is crazy, really. I mean, one of the things that really struck me was he was also one of the first people really talking about the welfare of the animals, wasn't he? He was talking about, trying to do it right and look after the animals in the best way. Is that still the case?
Yeah, 100%. I think, all of our manufacturers we've got, we have picked quite carefully, and we don't just pick anyone. We don't import a huge amount of meat from anywhere. It's all British, and that's really important because that's what the brand stands for. So that part of welfare, being British, being free range, having organic products, is really important for the brand. And I think it would be very different if we start changing that messaging now. I think because, if we ever moved out to or did EU products, for example, EU chicken, EU beef, it just wouldn't quite be the same. So being British has been a fundamental part of the brand, and I can't imagine that changing in the near future.
Yeah, which is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you still raise animals on your own farm? Do you still have kind of pigs and things there, or not so much anymore?
No, we don't actually. I think when the brand started, obviously it was like the only black farmer, and having that farm was kind of a key part of it. But no, it's not a working farm. We've got neighbours who use and utilise the land for farming purposes. But again, when you're scaling as quick as we did and diversifying, obviously having pork and chicken and egg and all that kind of stuff, you need really good manufacturers who are experts in that. So that's kind of the route we went down.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think that British farming is still stuck in the past? You said, it's better, the awareness is better, but we're not really there. Talk me through that.
I think again, so I'm actually going back to Devon this weekend, and even 21 years ago, obviously you don't see it as much, but I can definitely notice a difference in the diversification of people in and around small towns and villages.
Like rural areas.
Rural areas, yeah, and I think back then you'd probably get a few funny looks and things like that, but now it's kind of the norm, which is great. In terms of the actual attribute of farming, I still think there's probably quite a big gap to close in that. Whether it'll ever get to a point where it is completely closed, I doubt it. But the fact that there are more sort of diverse backgrounds in and around those rural villages and towns is definitely a step in the right direction, and something I haven't seen before, to be honest.
Absolutely. And this is about opportunity, isn't it? It's about making opportunities available to everybody, and this not just being a sort of predominantly white inherited job that you got because by virtue of your birthplace. But I remember on Jeremy Clarkson's programme, one of the first ones that came out, and he did a scan. He was at a cattle, or was it sheep or something he was buying, and he did a scan of all the people, and he goes, diversity's strong here, and he kind of just pans around all these middle-aged white men. Oh, there's a woman. And then he carries on panning around. It's really funny. It's just like, it is.
Sums up.
By virtue of the way in which people come into farming, generally it happens, it's usually a family affair, isn't it? And it just means the opportunities have been fewer for other people to come in, but we need it. And I can see it's happening a lot more where, there's a really cool company, Kent here, called Oink and Udder, and they never had any farm land. They've kind of rented bits of land and been able to raise their own meat in various different areas. And it's really fascinating what they've managed to do, not having a farm from scratch to start with.
Yeah, and I think actually Clarkson's farm has been brilliant for the farming industry. Also, just like, if people who never ever experienced that from diverse backgrounds or ever seen it, it's great for that visibility and awareness, but also just how difficult and tough it is being a farmer at the moment, and just the reality even of Jeremy Clarkson's profile on how tough it is to make it work. So, yeah, I think that programme series has been unbelievable to sort of shine a light on the farming industry.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're scaling really fast. Where are we going with it? I mean, are you going to continue to kind of build out your range? Because the crisps, which, by the way, tasted absolutely delicious, cheddar and caramelised onion chutney, really beautiful, and packed right the way to the top of this lovely cylindrical case.
Great.
Packed right to the top, really, really good quality. Are you going to continue to expand the range into lots of different types of products?
Yes, I think the plan, we've got a foundation when it comes to range. I think one of the things I'm quite conscious of is not creating products for product's sake. Like, it has to make sense for the business. I think it would be quite easy for us to create anything. They might not get major listings or anything, but it's kind of about where do we focus our time. So at the moment, we're pretty happy with the range that we've got. The sausages, chicken, eggs perform really well across most major supermarkets. For us, it's more moving into different markets as opposed to focusing on products. So we've done online, we're established in supermarkets. The next big thing for us and for me is export. So I just come back actually a couple of weeks ago from Gulf Food in Dubai to look at export opportunities. And for us, it's getting our product, because actually one of the really interesting things is, like, sometimes I go abroad to Europe and talk about the black farmers. Although we haven't got a physical presence, like, people know the brand, which makes it even better to try and get it out into people's hands. So having some really encouraging conversations to try and get our product out into different markets.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? What's the purpose? Because originally when Wilfred started the company, the purpose was obviously to create a product to sell, but also part of that purpose seemed to be about raising awareness of diversity. Is that still part of your purpose?
Yeah, I would say, and I think that's what resonates with a lot of people is the vision and bridging the gap between underrepresented communities, as we were talking about, between rural and urban. That's effectively why the brand was created. And it's almost like the brand's called the Black Farmer because he's the only black farmer in the country, which shouldn't really be a thing, if that makes sense. So I think it's great. Like when I speak to people, I was at an event yesterday and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I've been to the Brixton farm shop. Like I love the story. I buy your products. I buy into the brand. Yeah, great. The products are great, but the brand people really resonate with. Yeah. Which has been really important. So I think we focus a lot on the products, but brand is, people are buying into the brand, into the story. And if you nail that, I think they'll buy the products anyway. So that is a key part of our mission going forward, is bridging that gap between those underrepresented communities.
Fantastic. It's the thing that has really chimed with me since we've been talking is you talking about your farm shops and go, your farm shop in Brixton. It's really fascinating. It's like an urban farm shop, isn't it? We wouldn't normally talk about a farm shop. I guess in London or the big cities, people talk about kind of a fine food hall or something like that. They don't talk about farm shops, really. Or is that just me?
No, you're spot on, to be honest. I think creating something which would be classed as something you'd only have in a rural environment, like you think of your Dalesford, for example, and things like that, to create something in the heart of London, especially somewhere like Brixton, where it's sort of so manic, it's so busy, you know, it's got that Caribbean heritage, to create something which is literally, I'm not sure if you've been, but as soon as you go in, it's like an oasis. You know, it completely takes you out of the hustle and the bustle of what's in and around you. And I think, I try and remember the tagline, but I think it's escape the city without leaving town. So it's like you're still in the heart of it, but you're still going to a farm shop where, you know, you can have your coffee, you can meet with a friend. You know, we've got a mezzanine space in Brixton where people do yoga classes. We had a baby shower the other day. So it's great creating that concept completely in the heart of London, which has been tough, but it's great and it's different.
It's really cool, isn't it? It's like you're trying to break down the lines as well between like, you know, towny or you country kind of thing. There's sort of actually, why are we having to choose? Can we not intersperse? Can it not be more vague between the two lines, really?
Yeah, and I think you have to, you know, like farm shops, notoriously people perceive them as expensive, and then they are to some degree. So we kind of position ourselves as like affordable premium. So, you know, you don't want to price too many people out. You know, you're still in Brixton or White City, you know, yeah, fine, some elements have more disposable income, but you need to make it affordable because otherwise they'll just go around to the M&S next door. So I think a lot of people just come in for the experience in the escape, and you almost have a bit of a halo effect of, I'm going to pick up some bits for dinner or for lunch or have a coffee, that kind of stuff, which is important. So the positioning is really important, but also you have to get the product range right.
Yeah, and you obviously have with your sausages, because they are stocked everywhere, aren't they? They're in all the major supermarkets, so anyone can pick them up. But what is it for a pack of 6?
£3.50 in all supermarkets. And premium pork ones you can get pretty much everywhere. And then again, like if anyone sees the full range, Ocado usually has most of our products on there.
Oh, fab. So they have the crisps and some of these other beautiful chutneys.
Not crisps, no. So we only have the only ones that, so like chicken, they'll have chicken, they have eggs, you know, we do turkeys at Christmas. So the more ambient products we have on the farm shops. But one of the things that, again, that you've highlighted is we obviously love to get it into supermarkets and do more bits in the ambient space, because we haven't at the moment, and it's just getting it right, really. You want to choose a retailer which resonates with the brand and premium.
Yeah. Does it, you know, being quite values led like this, where you're really kind of trying to challenge lines, do you think that makes it harder or easier to kind of grow the brand? I guess it must really help to cement that emotional connection that people have with the brand.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, really. I think a lot of, and what I've found kind of come into the business, like, for example, I was ex-Sainsbury's for 6 years, ex-Delivery for a couple of years. So, like, I've been around FMCG and retail pretty much my whole career, to be honest. And I think a lot of the time it is really product focused, whereas for us, it's the brand that sells. You know, as I said before, like we do make a good product, but it's the story that my dad has. It's the understanding behind the Black Farmer. It's bridging the gap between rural and urban, which has really got us the position that we're in at the moment. So for me, I'd love to say that the brand sells, and to an element it is. But, if you're a buyer in a supermarket, you've never heard of us before, sometimes it is just down to what product have you got that's going to fill my category, if that makes sense. Your brand might be great, but, I need a product that's going to sit in here and it's going to drive sales. So it's a balance of both, but I think it is. And you've had great experience with people and like really pushing brands, especially challenging startups and looking at MPD and things like that. So it's a balance of the two. But from my perspective, I always start with, this is what we're about. This is the brand. This is the product we've created.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, there's so many different elements to that, isn't there? I mean, you're scaling fast at the moment, aren't you? It's going quickly and you're going into international spaces. What's keeping you up at night?
I think one of the things that so when you're in when I was in a corporate like Sainsbury and Deliveroo, I don't think you have full, depending on what level you are, but like oversight of kind of the day-to-day struggles on the finances, the cash and stuff like that. Obviously, you're a huge company and you're backed by whoever. Obviously, for us, like cash flow and managing finances, a day-to-day thing. Like I hadn't quite realised like how tight that could be. If you're managing suppliers' payment terms, you're managing retailer payment terms, you're managing the whole cash flow, like you're working day to day, week to week on exactly what your position is going to be. So I would say if anything kept me up at night, it probably would be that, because you just don't know where you're going to be in a week or so. And, you're reliant on suppliers as well. We don't manufacture anything. So, if one of our suppliers had to stop supplying us for a few weeks because of X, that's us in trouble and we can't supply, we can't invoice, and then, we're not in a position to pay suppliers. So there are so many variables, but I kind of like so much of it's out of your control. So I've kind of made peace with that, and I try and control what I control and keep going, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of luck, I think, that goes alongside, for many of the people who come on here, they're the founder. For you, you kind of are the founder, but you're not the founder, but you've grown up being part of that founder story and watching it firsthand. And now, you're obviously such a big part of driving growth and other things. It's that responsibility, isn't it, that you have to carry all of the different hats and wear all the different things and be across all those different things, which, like you say, you can't do anything about most of them.
Yeah.
But now you have to know that you've got this huge aged payables or aged creditors list that you've just got to mildly worry about whilst trying to just get the job done and get the show on the road, get the products to the right people.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's looking forwards then, in terms of kind of representation in food, how would you like to see that going direction wise? Where do you think kind of successful is going to, what do you think that's going to look like?
I think for me it's quite a difficult one really, but like shedding more light on black-owned businesses for me. I think there are certain supermarkets, retailers that do great on it and have dedicated proposition space. Like last year we did a huge amount of activity in Wimrush Day and Black History Month, and supermarkets invited us in to do our display with literally all the products that you've got and sample and talk to colleagues, which is all great. But I think when it comes down to it, it's just having areas of space where you can highlight those great brands. They obviously have to work hard to secure space long term. But the biggest thing that I find is just getting access to visibility and awareness. And I think sometimes a lot of it that I find is kind of like who you know in the industry and in retail as well. It's really difficult sometimes to constantly outreach and almost like cold calling buyers and stuff like that just to get your brand in front of them, and you might not even get a listing. So for so many startup brands, and I was speaking to quite a lot yesterday at an event, black owned businesses kind of asking like, how do I've got a great brand, but how do I get in front of these people? So it's the bit in between which I think is missing. It's kind of like, how do you get a scheme together to help put those brands in front of the right people? And I haven't really seen that done properly yet. And I think, from our perspective, it's taken 20 years to get to the position we're in.
Yeah.
It's like, and it was fully sort of bootstrapped. You haven't had any investment. For a lot of other brands, that's just not possible. So I feel like there is work to do in really creating a bit of a gateway to that.
Yeah. Have you come across Colin Mordy, who runs
Spill
the Beans?
I was there yesterday. That's the event.
You were there yesterday? Cool.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing really great things.
He's
just
great,
trying to raise awareness and pull people together and really help to kind of share understanding around the challenges for black-owned businesses. There's so many different things. The other person who I think does a really great job is lovely Adrian Boswell from Selfridges. I think he's
Yes.
really good at kind of championing
I've met him a few
black-owned
times.
businesses.
Yeah, he's great as well. I think
But we need more than two people, don't we, driving
Yeah.
this? We've got to get a much bigger wave of people kind of spreading awareness, understanding what this means and why we need it. You know, there's organisations that do this for kind of gender equality, you know, things like Buy Women Built.
Yeah.
But we need almost like a Buy Black Built or you know, something, a better name maybe. But it's really just kind of sharing that awareness, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think like you take Black History Month, October, for example, that's great for visibility and awareness, but as soon as you hit 1st of November, like that's almost forgotten about.
That's
It's on
over.
to the next thing. So, and obviously it's kind of in the lead up to Christmas, so it's kind of always going to be not front of mind for a lot of people. So for me, it's just like you hit October, you have a great event, and it's continuing the conversation throughout the year and actually making things happen and not really slowing down. But you do need the right, Colin's a great example, like you need the right people to kind of fight your corner and put you in front of people who actually are going to make a difference and can take action.
Yeah, share that awareness. Oh, it's been really fascinating listening to you talk about this. What can we kind of expect in the future from the Black Farmer? What should we keep our eyes out for?
So we're taking quite a big punt on AI at the moment.
Okay.
So one of the things that we're trying to create and become is like an AI first business. So a lot of the systems that we had probably up until a couple of years ago were quite outdated. You know, we were doing things quite an old fashioned way. So we've utilized AI massively on automating a lot of our processes. So stock control, inventory systems, finances, marketing stuff is almost like done pretty much by AI at the moment. So for us, it's kind of like, how can we automate and just remove all the admin, mundane stuff that people don't need to do and can focus on long-term strategy? So that's a big point. And then, as I said before, is just getting out to different markets. So export, food service, wholesale, that kind of stuff is a big priority, and getting the product into more people's hands, really.
Sounds fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time to come on the show today. And really excited to see what you guys do in the future.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.